Flashes flashed. The international film event stage froze as Jamie Dornan and Dakota Johnson happened to stand next to each other after nearly a decade of rumors that never died. Their eyes met, not long, not dramatic, but enough to make the whole world stop breathing. It seemed like a fleeting moment, until a whisper was recorded from the microphone on the stage, and spread like a lightning bolt from the sky. "We can't hide it forever. We can't hide it forever." No one knew who said it. No one dared to confirm the true meaning. But the world exploded immediately. Face mask Hollywood shaken. From social media to entertainment news channels, everyone rushed to speculate. What was that? Unfinished love that had not yet been named? A promise that had been buried deep? Or a bigger secret, once locked away because of career, pressure, and millions of eyes watching? Those who worked with them shared in silence, just a sad smile full of hidden meaning. Wilted flower, unnamed pain. Dakota Johnson once said in an interview, "There are things that, even if you don't say them, they live in you every day." Jamie Dornan once responded in a private conversation, "I only regret the things I didn't dare to keep." Each word was like a knife cutting into the hearts of fans. The door closes, and the truth begins to speak. After the storm of public opinion, the two disappeared from the media radar for 48 hours. No posts, no paparazzi caught, no managers answered interviews. Until an inside source at the Bowery Hotel, New York revealed. Jamie Dornan and Dakota Johnson met secretly in a private conference room on the 12th floor. No security. No crew. Just the two of them. And a locked door. Fog space filled with memories. The room was so quiet you could hear your heartbeat. Dakota arrived first, hair tied loosely, no makeup, eyes not evasive, but not inviting. Jamie walked in after, tired but determined. The door closed, like the final, fateful sound. No one spoke. Because they both know, the first word will decide everything. Heartbreak in the end, Jamie is the silence breaker. "You know, right? That whisper wasn't an accident." Dakota didn't answer, but her eyes began to glisten. Jamie took a step closer, just one step, but it was the longest he'd had to walk in years. "I'm tired, Dakota, tired of pretending like nothing ever happened. Tired of living like we didn't ever belong together." Dakota smiled slightly, but the smile hurt more than a cry. "Belong? Jamie, we've never been allowed to belong to anything. Not when the pressure, the career, the eyes are always there." Fire, but Jamie doesn't back down. For the first time in years, Jamie Dornan looked at Dakota not with the eyes of his co-star, but with the eyes of a man who has buried the truth for too long. "I don't care anymore." Dakota looked up, she looked down, then looked up again. She said, "If we tell the truth, the world will never be the same again." Jamie replied, without hesitation, "I know." And that was the moment of electric shock again. Not from the whisper, but from the decision. The letter unsent but never lost. The air in the 12th floor room seemed thick. Jamie and Dakota stood close together, only a breath apart. But the distance wasn't physical, it was years. Dakota took a deep breath. Then from the small bag beside her, she pulled out an envelope. Old, wrinkled, the corners of the paper faded as if it had been touched 100 times. She placed it in front of Jamie. "Once, I was going to say everything. But then I chose to remain silent." Jamie looked at the envelope as if looking at a buried memory returning. Dakota whispered, "That day, if you had opened this letter, everything would have been different." Love letter, the contents of the letter. Jamie reached out to touch the envelope. He hesitated. Not because he was afraid of the words inside, but because he knew he hadn't been there to read it when he should have. Dakota turned away, her voice choked with emotion. I wrote it after the last scene of 50 Shades Freed. When the world thought we were just acting. But I knew, and you knew, it wasn't just acting. Jamie closed her eyes. The room seemed to spin. Heartbreak, the hidden truth. Dakota continued. I waited for you. Just a word. A sign. Something to tell me I wasn't the only one who felt this. Tears fell, but no sobs. Just silence. Like raindrops falling in a closed room. Jamie gently placed her hand on the letter. I felt it. But I didn't have the courage. Dakota looked at him. And for the first time since they met, their eyes didn't run away from each other. Cloud with lightning. Jamie opens the letter. There was no reason to hide. His hands shook. He tore the edge of the envelope. The piece of paper inside fell out, light but carrying the weight of a repressed past. Dakota's handwriting. Soft, shaky, brutally honest. Jamie began to read. The first line took his breath away. Jamie, don't say anything. Just read. This is something I can't say in front of you, because if I do, I'll never leave again. Dakota stood still, looking away. Jamie continued reading, but we never saw the next sentences. Only the expression on his face changed. From surprise, right pointing arrow. To pain, right pointing arrow. Then complete breakdown. He put his hand to his mouth, as if trying to stop himself from crying. Dakota didn't ask. Because she knew he understood. The secret that should never have been buried. The air conditioning in the room seemed louder, colder. Jamie stood still, her hands clenching the letter until it crumpled. Dakota didn't turn to look at him. She knew this moment would come, and it wouldn't be easy. The next line in the letter revealed the truth no one had ever dared to say. Jamie, you carry a part of us inside you. Jamie read it with her eyes, but it resonated in her bones. Film frames flashback. It was around the time they'd finished filming the final installment of 50 Shades Freed. The crew, the media, the world thought it was over. But for them, it had just begun. Late afternoons with the sunset falling on the roof of the studio. Unscripted kisses. Hugs that lasted longer than normal colleagues. Love that was unnamed, but still burned. And then, one autumn morning, Dakota got the results. Not happy. Not panicked. Just silence. Because she knew, it couldn't exist in that world. Wilted flower, the unseen sacrifice. Jamie spoke softly, her voice so hoarse it almost cracked. Why didn't you tell me? Dakota closed her eyes. Just one tear, but enough to tell the story that had never been told. Because you were fighting too many things. I couldn't be another burden. And I didn't want to be the reason your career collapsed. Jamie shook her head, so hard it was almost desperate. I wasn't a burden. I never was a burden. You should have been there. I should have said it. Dakota smiled, a beautiful and hauntingly sad smile. We all chose silence. And silence is what killed us. High voltage, the moment of total breakdown. Jamie stepped forward. No acting. No hiding. No controlling. He hugged Dakota. Not a lover's hug. Not a friend's hug. But the hug of two souls who once found each other, but lost each other because the world was too big. Dakota leaned on his shoulder. No crying. Just breathing. Like finally living in the truth, if only for a moment. Crescent moon. End of part 4. The secret was revealed. The pain was no longer nameless. But the biggest question remained. Now that the truth was revealed, what would they do? Towards each other? Or apart again, this time forever? After that hug, they didn't say another word. No need. Dakota left the 12th floor room in silence. Jamie didn't hold back. Because sometimes, the most painful thing isn't the separation. It's that they both know they're not ready to stop. Night stars, New York, cold night. That night, the city was as bright as the sun that wouldn't sleep. Dakota stood by the window in her small rented apartment. Her hair was loose, her shoulders were thin. She didn't look like a big star, but like a woman holding a storm in her chest. The phone vibrated. A text message. From him. Williamsburg Bridge, 014. Just us. If you come, I'll know the answer. No more words. A promise as light as the wind, but determined a lifetime. Oncoming car, a date night not for the faint-hearted. The wind on the bridge blew hard. The yellow lights scattered across the river like a broken line of light. Jamie stood there, leaning against the railing, his hands in his coat pockets. He didn't look at his phone. He didn't look at his watch. He just waited. 012. No one. 013. Still no one. 014. Footsteps. Not fast. Not slow. Dakota arrived. A long gray coat. His eyes were a little red from the wind, or something else, no one was sure. Jamie turned around. He didn't say, "I'm here." He didn't ask, "Are you okay?" Dakota stood opposite him. If we choose each other tonight, there's no turning back. Jamie looked straight at her. His eyes no longer trembled. I know. Dakota took a deep breath. The wind swept over them. So, we pay with everything. Jamie stepped forward, 1 step. 2 steps. The distance between them was gone. He spoke, his voice low, but clear as an oath. I lost you once. I won't do it again. Dakota looked at him. This time, there were no tears. Only fire. If we choose to continue, we must choose to go all the way. Jamie nodded slowly. To go all the way. 2 simple words, but the greatest oath of their lives. Milky Way. There was no kiss that night. Because true love needs no proof. That night it was just the two of them. Standing side by side on the bridge in the city that never sleeps. No touching. No rushing. Only decision. Tomorrow, they will tell the truth. No matter what.